So we are live as live can get, coast to coast and border to border. I look like Michael Savage today with my hat near the San Francisco Bay Bridge. We have got a hell of a show today. Forget about what you've heard. I am Mr. Hell, basically, Jiggy Jag with you. We have our guest Charlotte Dennett with us as well. We also have the man about town himself, IQ Al Rassooli. And 2 in a row, Don Mazzella, your friend and mine, or as I always like to call him, the most trusted news person on the face of this earth. And so, Charlotte, talk to me and the boys a little bit about yourself.
Okay, first of all, I need to know if you can hear me all right.
I've got
You
you.
got me
We've
on
got you.
okay?
Yeah,
We've
we can
got
hear
you.
you.
We
Okay.
got you.
All right, you got me. So you want me to explain myself, huh?
Yes. Introduce yourself. Let's play a game of introduce yourself.
Okay. I'm an attorney, an author, and an investigative journalist. I guess the reason I'm on is I've got some pretty unique views about the Middle East crisis, stemming probably mostly from the fact that my father was America's first master spy in the Middle East.
Yep.
He was killed in a mysterious plane crash after a top secret mission to Saudi Arabia. That was in 47, which ages me, by the way. But at any rate, I was 6 weeks old at the time. I didn't know the man, and then when I got older, at a certain period of time, I was a journalist in Beirut, and I traveled all over the Middle East, and I started thinking about how I might be following my father's footsteps, certainly in the way of traversing political terrains, and I started investigating what was behind his death. And I sued the CIA. He started out with the OSS and then with the Central Intelligence Group. He died like 3 months before the CIA was actually created. And so, in the course of investigating his death and suing the CIA, I got some very interesting documents. One of them was written in 1944, and it was heavily redacted. I got that through my lawsuit. And he was talking about his marching orders. And he said, our absolute numero uno priority is to protect the oil at all costs. He was referring to Saudi oil. America had landed this huge exclusive concession to Saudi oil. And his job on his last mission was to try to see what would be the safest route for the Trans-Arabian pipeline, which was projected to carry this incredibly valuable Saudi oil across the Arabian desert to a terminal point on the Mediterranean. And that terminal point was either going to be Lebanon or Haifa, Palestine, now Israel. And so I found that very interesting. And then I looked up the New York Times magazine and I found a terrific article, March 2, 1947, written 2 weeks before his plane crash, and it was all about this pipeline. Pipeline to U.S. is a major Middle East issue, it said. And then the subtitle was about the position of Russia was of concern. But in this article, it talked about how the military and economic protection of the pipeline was going to be crucial. It was going to be a main issue for American foreign policy. So, anyway, what I've done is I began to examine this whole idea about protecting the oil at all costs. And I came to a conclusion that's a meme that's followed all the way up to the present. And the thing is, you never hear about it. It's not in the news. You don't hear it from the members of Congress. And the reason is because oil is considered a national security issue and its transportation. And right up to very recently, I heard about a woman who was suing Big Oil. This is the first wrongful death lawsuit, as far as I know, against Big Oil for failing to warn and lying, in fact, about the dangers of fossil fuel to the climate and to the health of our planet. Her mother died in a heat dome. I think it was 110 degrees in the Midwest, or no, Southwest. Her mother died, so she's suing. And then I looked at their defense. As an attorney, I know about these things, personal injury and wrongful death lawsuits. And their defense was, this is going to hurt us. This is very bad for us, and therefore it's bad for America. And then there's one line: members of Congress, all members of Congress know that this is a national security issue. That's why you don't hear about it, and you don't hear about it in the media. People sort of have a sense that things going on in the Middle East has to do with oil, but they don't understand the specifics. And so what I've done is I've mapped it out. I've mapped out a geopolitical analysis based on pipelines, because oil has to be transported, and those pipelines have to be secure and safe. And so therefore there's huge emphasis. And the final thing I'll say by way of introduction is that the national security that trumps any other one is that it's the oil of the military. Every veteran knows this. The people who fought in World War I and World War II came to understand it. Germany lost both wars because it ran out of gas. Can you believe that? So therefore, every major power knows that they have to have secure oil oil supplies to fuel their military. And that's why they're still out there. And now we got Trump, Mr. Drill Baby Drill, egging it on and destroying all the climate initiatives that are happening. He's totally beholden to oil companies. So that's my
Oh
introduction.
yeah. Well, see, here's the thing. Uh, back when Trump was trying to win the election, he went and had a conference with all the social media people, all the telecom people, and he's like, "Give me $1 million, so I can, win the election." And they all told him, "We've already made our decision. We are not giving you any money."
What?
So he went
That's
to
interesting.
the oil companies, and he
Yeah.
said, "Hey, give me $1 billion so I can win the election." And they're like, "Sure." So that's part of the reason why he's doing some of the things he's doing, is because he's got to pay back his donors. But here's the thing: that's also another reason why the tech companies have lined up with all open arms to kiss his ass, because they bet on the wrong horse. They bet on Kamala Harris, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Damn it." So that's why you see them everywhere, shaking his hand, being his buddy, because they're terribly worried. Because they know what they
Yeah.
told this. They know what they told this guy in private, and now he runs things.
But
Yeah.
let me
Don Mazzella, jump in there, baby. What do you got, Don?
I would like to ask her one question. Where did the pipeline end up? Haifa or where did it end up?
It, at my father's advice, it ended up in southern Lebanon, about 100 miles from the border with Israel. He argued that having it terminate in Haifa was not a good idea because there was too much violence going on at the time. The Jews are trying to get rid of the British. The Arabs didn't like the Jews being there. There were earlier pipelines, the Iraq Petroleum Pipeline, for instance, that was built in the 30s, conceived after World War I. That terminated in Haifa, and there had been attacks on that pipeline. So my father strongly recommended Lebanon. Of course, he was based there. And they had to do a coup, the first CIA coup. This is after my father's death that ever occurred. It was not in Tehran. It was in Syria, and they removed President Kouatly because he did not want that pipeline terminating in Palestine, which he knew was going to be eventually a Jewish state. It was a nationalist president, and so they overthrew him. In fact, Archie Roosevelt, Teddy's grandson, who replaced my father, was among those who pulled off the coup that got rid of the Syrian president and put in an army chief who was okay with whatever they wanted. And so the
Oh,
pipeline ended up um, terminating in Sidon in southern Lebanon. And it was there
but I
until
thought
the mid 90s.
most of the oil that comes out of Saudi Arabia comes out in tankers
No,
rather than, no?
no, no. That pipeline, the Trans-Arabian pipeline, was so important that it elevated the United States into a major power in the Middle East and in the world. What it did, once it got to the Mediterranean, then the oil was shipped by tankers to Europe. And it was crucial for energy hungry Europe after World War II had to rebuild itself through the Marshall Plan. And the dream was that it would also, this oil would replace coal, which had been the fuel uh, in a lot of Europe. And there were communist unions, trade unions that controlled the coal. So there was a political aim as well, which is replace the coal with American Saudi oil. At any rate,
Yeah,
the yeah, go ahead.
what I don't understand is if I read it correctly, and IQ, you can probably jump in here, but I thought 90% of the world's oil passes through the Straits of Hormuz. And one of the reasons is the Saudi rate, the Saudi oil, and the Iraqi and the Iranian oil all come does it through tankers. But but who am I
Well,
to know?
that's the Straits of Hormuz are very important. And I mean, in a way, it's like an irony of geography that for tanker traffics, there's the two very narrow points that the tankers can go both on the east and on the west. The Straits of Hormuz is one of them, and so yes, there is traffic tankers going there, but the main pipeline distribution was through tap line. Um, here I can just show you. Here's the article, and in the New York Times, and it shows the route of the pipeline. And here it says pipeline for U.S. adds to Middle East issues. Um, Oil concessions raised questions involving Russia. So anyway, look up tap line, and you will see what a phenomenal role it played in elevating the U.S. into a major power. And another thing that I discovered is that uh, my father's erstwhile allies in World War II became his deadly competitors after the war. And that's why the title of my book is Follow the Pipelines, and the subtitle is Uncovering the Mystery of a Lost Spy and the Deadly Politics of the Great Game for Oil. When my father arrived in Lebanon in 44, it wasn't the Germans that he was spying on, it was our allies. It was the French and the English and the Russians. And they were all spying on him, and they were very jealous about the U.S. having that exclusive concession in Saudi oil.
Hmm.
Yeah.
IQ,
Anyway,
what do you want to jump in there,
Well,
please?
the only thing I would like to dispute is The climate change has nothing to do with the oil. This is the greatest con game ever in human history. We're finding out now, in the Mojave Desert, they spent $2.2 billion creating a monstrosity with solar cells. Now they're going to take them down. They have all these turbines waiting for the air to turn them on. They are now being destroyed. The only fuel that will energize any economy at the moment is oil and gas. And Trump knows it. And now he is also going to go nuclear. He told the French and the Germans when he was 45th president, he told them, look, you're stupid. You are literally putting all your assets regarding energy with Russia. It's a mistake. They laughed at him at the time. They're not laughing at him now. He is right. Baby drill is the best policy ever in the history of America. It makes you independent. It makes America independent from anybody trying to threaten their energy supply. Today, the United States of America can supply the whole world in gas and oil without Saudi Arabia. And that's enough.
Personally, I'm excited that supposedly solar powered cars and vehicles are on their way, and it's like a real big breakthrough. And I'm like, perfect, we can do that, and then we can tell all the crazies in the Middle East go kill each other and let them keep their oil. But we have got Charlotte Dennett with us today. She joins us live. We're going to be getting to our next guest here in just a few moments as well. So Charlotte, how do we get your book? Where do we find your book and everything?
Yeah, well, the easiest is Amazon. Whether you like it or not, that's the easiest way to get the book. Amazon.com. Chelsea Green is the publisher. Your local bookstore, you can order it. It's there. Let me just add one quick thing. So
Yes,
you're
go ahead,
going on to a new guest. Yeah, the problems in Gaza. There's over $500 billion worth of oil and natural gas that have been discovered off the coast of Gaza and Israel and Lebanon. And
of course there has been.
Yeah.
There's always a reason.
Well, and the whole point is Netanyahu has this big dream of developing an energy corridor along the Mediterranean Sea. And no bank will finance it as long as there is conflict. Hence, destroy Gaza, demilitarize it, get the Palestinians out of there, and build your energy corridor. That is what's going on. It's not just building a Riviera of the Middle East or a Riviera in Israel. I find it absolutely appalling. I find the genocide appalling. We've been watching it on TV. I strongly disagree with your other person there that says that the whole oil thing is a hoax. They've been lying for years, and we've got the records. They've outright lied about the danger, and of course they're going to do it. They're going to protect themselves. But there you go.
So
it's the first person that I don't know who your guest is. Apparently has a Middle Eastern accent, I think.
It's IQ.
IQ Al Rassooli is his name.
Oh, well, IQ. Where are you from, IQ?
Baghdad.
Baghdad, right. And do you think the invasion of Iraq was about trying to control Iraqi oil? By Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld?
No, come on.
What?
America has the oil. America is the producer of oil. Look, you can't.
No, you don't know our history, IQ. You don't.
Oh,
you
believe
don't
me,
know
I know your history better than you do, honestly.
Oh, no, you don't.
Of course I do. It's my territory. It's my territory.
It's your territory? Well,
yes.
Yeah.
He is originally from Iraq, I believe. Yeah. But Charlotte, we definitely want to have you back when we have a little bit more time.
Right.
You are amazing, by the way. I always love talking to you. I love having you on, and I definitely will be in touch, and we'll get you on for the full hour at some point.
Okay. That's a
Thank
deal.
you, my friend.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, my friend.
Thank
Have
you.
yourself a wonderful day. We're going to move on
Okay.
to our next guest.
Bye-bye.
Ken Good is with us. Ken, how are you, sir? I don't know if we can hear Ken. Ken, are you there, baby?
Yes, I'm here. I'm doing well. Thank you
Perfect.
for
We
having
got
me.
you. We got you.
Seems
And,
like I missed a lively debate.
Well, what is always interesting is I love talking to people on both sides of the coin. I'll talk to the liberalist liberal and the craziest conservative all day long. But sometimes there are indisputable facts that that you cannot get past. And sometimes both sides don't want to see that. So it is always interesting. But Ken, give us a little bit of background on you and what you bring to the table. And I know Don and IQ and myself will have some questions for you, my friend.
Well, let's see. I am an attorney. I am from Texas. I have an office in Tyler, Texas, which is kind of east of Dallas, and I have an office in Houston. I've been practicing law for over 30 something years. I probably don't want to say how many somethings. But I'm also married to a lawyer. We have two daughters. My oldest daughter just got engaged. So I kind of specialize in criminal justice reform, bail law, and I have written articles that have been published across the United States on bail reform, criminal justice reform issues. Yeah, and so I have become knowledgeable, or I've set out to become knowledgeable on what works and what does not work from the criminal justice reform debate. And it's kind of interesting to be involved in that because, like you said, there's some facts that are indisputable, but when you get into this debate, those indisputable facts get disputed or ignored, probably mostly ignored.
Yeah, yes, yes. IQ, I
I'm
want to
going to
start.
jump right.
Go
Jimmy,
ahead,
I'm going to
Don.
jump
Go ahead, Don. Jump
right
in there,
in there and
baby.
just ask one question. Uh, we talk about bail reform, but why don't liberals want to reduce bail when bail is designed to ensure that people show up for their hearing? I
Uh,
don't know. I've never understood that.
that's a really good point. Why would they want to do that? And I would say it's all political. So it starts out with identity politics. Their argument is that one, your identity is being taken advantage of, and you need to get mad about it. You're not getting treated the same equally, and so you need to vote a certain way based upon your identity. I think that's where it started. We had a bunch of election cycles where that was the argument, and then as soon as the election was over, then they just went right back to everyday politics. So it was just something that would come up periodically before an election. But then, their supporters started realizing that, so they started electing the true believers, or the farthest to the extreme people who carried through on those policies, and we've seen how disastrous they've been. And the reason why I think that it's really political now is, if it was just something we're trying after a couple of years, you'd say it's not working, so let's try something else. That's not happening. They won't admit they're not working, and so that's how you know it's completely political.
Well, the question is, I guess my first question uh, is it is not working. I mean, you go to New York, you go to these states, and you got people literally out arrested in the morning and out in the afternoon. How does that help the justice system um, protect the innocent, the victims?
It doesn't. It doesn't. If you go to California, we had District Attorney Gascon that just got defeated in November, and he got defeated badly. But he was one of those Soros DAs. But when someone asked his PR team about the very question you asked about victims of crime. And their response was, well, we just have a disagreement about who the real victim is. And I think that tells you, it speaks volumes about what their intent is. Because if they're arguing for the defendant and the criminal defense attorney's arguing for the defendant, then who in the freaking courtroom is arguing for the victim of the crime? And the answer is nobody in these urban areas in with DAs who've been elected and supported by George Soros. So that's the problem. That's what I'm trying to address, because it's not helping. It's making it worse. You see crime in our urban areas going up, and then they start releasing these pseudo studies that says crime's not going up because of bail reform. Crime's not going up because of criminal justice reform. It's just all hogwash.
Well, just looking at New York City, it's saying the statistics are indicating the crime is going down. But someone told me recently it's only because people have stopped reporting crime.
Well, I think it's a combination of that, but also, they've declassified or changed some crimes from felonies to misdemeanors. So, that's another way they decrease crime. But, they've been releasing some pseudo studies that say, oh, crime is not going up. You don't have to believe us. You just have to look to the FBI statistics. Well, last October, there's a reason why the FBI statistics were not accurate, and they've updated them right before the election. And suddenly they were showing crime was going up. So they lost that argument. And so they had to start attacking Trump personally because they lost their argument that crime was going down. And you see that also in California, where they changed certain felonies to misdemeanors, and then they quit prosecuting crime or theft under $950. Well, if they quit prosecuting it, they're not going to call it a crime anymore. But that's what's done substantial damage to the community, because stores are closing because they can't withstand $25,000 a day in shoplifting. And then you've got commercial property values tanking, and then their tax values are going down, our tax revenues going down. And that's why you see some mayors starting to bring up the issue. So, we've got this very organized syndicate of people on the advocacy side, and they're very well funded, and they're very well organized, and they don't have any problem misrepresenting what's taking place. So when someone says crime is going down in our urban area, you should start with, that's just not true. I mean, there was a study that was done in Yolo County, California, that compared the two people equally on separate types of release. So one was on a surety bond, one was on just simple release. And they found the person that had simple release had a 200% greater chance of committing a new violent offense in the next 18 months. And if you look at that and rely upon it, you would say, why would anybody be released on simple release? And you would say, no one should be, except in the very rare circumstances.
So, what do you do? Well, tell us what you're doing to change this.
Well, I am on the board of directors of the Professional Bondsmen of Texas, which is a state association. I'm on their legislative committee. I go to the legislature and I testify on bills. I write articles across the country. The very first hearing I went to on a bail reform issue was a hearing in a federal case in Harris County, and the case was called O'Donnell versus Harris County. And I came out of that hearing very upset because I didn't think that the judge was handling the case correctly. I didn't think she understood the law correctly. I think she was misapplying it. And so I came out and set out the alarm, and I said, we have to become experts on these issues. And I think that I've been proven correct, because I think that judge has been reversed 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 times in that case now. In fact, the Fifth Circuit ultimately ruled that case should have never been filed in federal court. And at one point, that was the case that was being cited across the country in support of bail reform and criminal justice reform.
Is that the one that Senator Kennedy? She came up for promotion, and he wrote that out.
No,
Anyway.
I don't think it's that case.
Oh, okay. I've been wrong before. But tell me, what can people like you, like me, and IQ do to support your efforts?
Well, I think first thing I think the public needs to do is we need to vote law and order. So, I think the last national election was probably the point where we're starting to have a backlash and the voters are going back to support law and order candidates. And that's making a difference. So in this area where we have Soros supported DAs, they usually have a 1 to 2 term shelf life and then they'll get defeated. And they'll be replaced by law and order district attorneys. If people want to, look at the issues that we're talking about, you can go to our website, pbtx.com. We have a blog where we highlight important criminal justice stories. And we also have our own podcast called The Bell Post. There's a link on our menu, but you can also go to thebellpost.com.
IQ, do you want to jump in here?
Well, I let why there people start first. Anyway, question. Why can't lawyers in America who are conservative take the state, the officials of the state to court? I don't understand. People are paying taxes to be protected. And yet those officials are allowing criminals to steal $950 per felony or whatever you want to call it and get away with it. But these people are paying taxes. Why are they paying taxes? Why are they not refusing to pay taxes? Please, could you explain that to me?
Well, your first question, why can't the public sue their politicians, their political leaders for not providing public safety? And the simple reason for that is they have immunity. So they have immunity for most lawsuits. Like, our police. The general public can't sue the police for making a mistake because they have qualified immunity. And and the advocates attack that, saying, well, we should be able to sue them. But the reality is, if we didn't have qualified immunity for our police officers, nobody would be a police officer, because anytime anyone with money or an activist group just wants to play games, then you're going to have that. So I think the same concept applies for our politicians. Maybe it shouldn't apply as much, but it does. And so I think the elections is where we're supposed to be making these decisions. And what I encourage the public is, we can go back to our identity politic games, with the next election, but we need one more election of voting law and order so that our friends on the left get defeated, and then they will revert back to what they've always been, which is a law and order party, just like the Republicans have been.
Ken, I understand that. But let me put it another way. Take a piece of garbage called Newsom. He failed as a mayor. He failed as a governor. He let the places in the Palisades burn, tens of thousands of homes, multi-million-dollar homes, and he can get away with it? Why? But he is responsible. His job was to protect the state. His job was, as a governor, he was supposed to have the water available to put the fires out. How can he have immunity? I don't get it. Honestly, I don't get it.
Well, but that's the basis of our system. The public will get tired of him. I mean, there's a reason why he's underwater with his statewide favorability, and there's a reason why he's trying to be so vocal. He's reaching out to the far left because he's so underwater. So you've got because he's planning on running again in a different. He's planning on running for president because he can't run again for governor, and I don't think he could win again for governor. But the problem we have in California is there's a whole bunch of reasons why that's a problem. I mean, it has. In my opinion, it's very corrupt. And I saw an example of this. Like, the press really gets in line with California. They don't report things, and they're not really an active press questioning their politicians, because if they do, then they're not going to be able, they're not going to get access to the politicians anymore. And so that's a recurring problem there.
All I can hear is excuses. I'm sorry, Ken, not your fault, but all I can hear is excuses. You have the most corrupt system of news media in the world. one of the most corrupt. They never ask the right question, and they hide the truth or twist the truth and get away with it.
Yes, sir. I agree
This
with
is
that.
what I can't accept. They're getting away with it.
Yes, sir. I agree with that. I mean, I do agree. I think that there's a lot of problems in California, and where I first saw it, where I realized it was a big problem is, with not Soros, but Elon Musk and the um, launches he was doing in California, and they have a state agency that approves that, and they just said, I mean, publicly, they just said they were going to not approve it because they didn't like his politics. Well, I mean, where would that ever pass muster except in
In a corrupt place.
except in a corrupt place like California? It's
Yes.
ridiculous.
So you answered me. I mean, it's a corrupt place. It's publicly corrupt, and they get away with it.
Yes,
Sorry.
sir. No, I agree. And
Yeah.
until well, and I heard I heard somebody talk recently, maybe dealing with Charlie Kirk's death, saying that part of California's problem is Reagan's immigration deal that gave a path to citizenship for millions of people, most of them living in California. And the point they were making is that if California voted Republican, it would be several decades before the country would vote in a Democrat president ever again. And I think that's probably a good point.
Several decades, I would say 200 years before they come back.
Yeah, and maybe that's the point they made.
Yeah. Well, I hope 2026 will change everything. I hope so. Really,
Yeah.
there's nothing else. There's absolutely nothing else.
Well, I mean, look, the public's slowly seeing what's going on. Right now in California, they're voting for law and order Democrats instead of Republicans. And so we've got to change that. We need them to be supporting Republican candidates. But part of that problem is the Republicans have poisoned, or maybe the Democrats have poisoned the brand, and so we've got to get that fixed.
Okay. I have no more questions, honestly. Really. It's just too upsetting for me.
Well, hey, you know what? And that's good. Crime should be upsetting to everybody. And what's been done by the advocates to lie to the public, and when they really speak the truth, what their policies are doing is creating more crime, and that's what they're intended to do. We're just supposed to put up with more crime, and so your reaction is the reaction that we should all be having. And if our politicians see that, they will change course.
Well, I've been saying it for 14 years on this program. So I don't know if it's going to be helping or not. I have no idea.
Sure.
But really, law and order is number one. It should be number
Yes, sir.
one, besides the
Yes, sir.
economy. If you don't have law and order, you won't have any economy anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, I would say that we're seeing that in our urban cities where commercial property values are dropping and selling for a third to half of what they were selling for, a short time before. So we can't have that. We cannot have that.
Yeah.
So Don, jump in there, my friend. I know you probably got some questions for Ken.
I do, but I've been listening to him, and boy, he makes a lot of sense. Don't take it the wrong way. For a lawyer, my my saying, what is it about lawyers? But let me ask you this question: do you believe in the federal state system, where we literally have two, the federal court system and the local state? Do you believe it works better for this country in the long run, or do you think there should be some reforms?
Do I believe in the federal and you know what? I do believe in the federal and state system, and I'm going to tell you why. Because especially currently, because we have crimes in our urban areas where these Soros DAs will not prosecute crimes. And so we have had example after example where the the federal government has stepped in and filed federal charges to kind of, if you're not going to do it, we're going to do it. And so I think under the current system, I think with Biden, you could make the argument, why did we have double when both are doing neither? So I do think currently under the Trump administration, I think it works really well because I think the federal government is coming in and filing charges when the states are refusing to do so because of their soft on crime policies, or when a state in one of these advocately controlled jurisdictions are, have soft on crime policies. So the federal government's stepping in and doing what they refuse to do.
Well, if you look at the English system, for instance, they have many of the same problems without the dual system. Um, uh, um, do you
Yeah,
think
but
it's
the
just
English is
that?
going through the same problem that we have been going through on immigration reform, and they're very much overlapped. The problems overlap each other because
Yeah.
if you're letting in criminals illegally, what do you expect them not to commit crimes when they get here? We've realized that with Trump, and he's enforcing the immigration laws. I think in Great Britain, they're just now realizing that, and the public is, and the public is really pushing for change. But the government that's currently in place in Great Britain is the equivalent to the Biden administration. They really opened up the floodgates for illegal immigration, and so you see the country suffering the same consequences that we did under President Biden.
Well, the argument is made that we shouldn't be turning these people away. But to me, what is necessary is regulating these people so we don't let the wrong people in and we do let the right people in.
Well, when
How
you
do
have a
you,
substantial numbers of the people in prison that are foreigners or illegal aliens, then I think that tells you you've got a problem. I mean, when you have 50% of the people that are being held in your county jails that they're illegal aliens, that tells you. I mean, the argument that's just completely ignored by the advocates is this argument that Trump is making, that we have criminals, we have gang members that have come here illegally, and we have career criminals that have come here illegally. And they just ignore that and say, well, the vast majority of these people haven't done anything wrong other than come into our country illegally. I mean, and so they don't have a response to those arguments. So they just ignore it. And so, I mean, if you want to take that through logically, what they're saying is it's worth having the extra crime. It's worth having those people in society because of the people that have come here, even though they came illegally, they've done nothing wrong once they got here. And that's not a valid, that's not a good argument.
couldn't agree with you more on that. But my father is an illegal immigrant who literally and figuratively jumped ship to make the country. But
What
but
I mean, I
his
have
law.
relatives that are just a few generations back, and then I have, parts of my family that go all the way back to the American Revolution. I mean, there's part of my family that goes all the way back to Benjamin Franklin's family, and I'm related to one of his brothers. So, I mean, we all have uh, I mean, we go far enough back. We're all immigrants, but we have legal ways to come into the country and we have illegal ways to come in the country. I mean, my daughter is engaged to someone who immigrated to the United States when he was 10. He came here legally and he's gone all the way. He didn't speak English when he came. He's been all the way through the school system. He's a naturalized citizen. Went through college. He has a double degree in business and psychology. And so, I mean, we like him a lot. So I don't have a problem with immigration, as legal immigration. I have a problem with illegal immigration. And I have a real problem with people who are criminals who snuck into our country illegally.
Again, the opposition, the Democrats,
Hmm.
they ignore the fact that the word illegal is being used. They ignore it completely.
Yes,
They
sir.
came illegally. I'll tell you why I'm angry. I'm from Iraq. I have applied for a green card. I've got a green card now. It took me 3 years and several $1,000s. So I did it legally. I waited legally. I paid the money legally. For somebody to jump the line, crossing illegally, and to go ahead of me, I will not accept it. Sorry. I don't give a damn what the reasons are. They came in illegally. End of conversation. I don't care how good they are. It's not my problem. The fact that they came in illegally, they broke the law.
Well, I think that the point that you're making that I agree with is that our last administration did not distinguish between legal immigration and illegal immigration. In fact, they changed the name of it. They called it undocumented.
Yes, yes.
And that's a problem. I mean, really, I mean, are we a country of laws? Because what they were doing is we're not enforcing the law. And I live in Texas, so Texas was doing their own thing, and they were having to fight the federal government to even do what little they were able to do. So we've got the federal government suing Texas, saying we're responsible for immigration policy, not you. And if, essentially they weren't saying it, but they were essentially saying, if we choose to do nothing, there's nothing you can do to stop it.
But Ken, you are a lawyer. Let
I
me
hope.
let me ask you the question. As
Okay.
commander in chief,
Mhm.
Biden betrayed the United States of America. Betrayed. The word is betrayed. I want somebody to prove me wrong. How can anybody prove me wrong? His job is to protect the United States of America from inside, from outside. He didn't. He betrayed it. He should be put on trial and if found guilty, executed. I know it sounds strong, but show me a different point of view, please.
Well, I'm not going to go as far as you've gone, but I will say I question whether Biden knew what was going on in his office,
Good
because if
God.
you look at the way uh, his speeches over time, he was always very strong on immigration, and especially illegal immigration, and he was also a strong proponent for the criminal justice system. So I start out by saying I question whether he knew what was going on in his office, because he ran as a moderate. We're going to restore our country. The adults are coming back to the room, but the problem is once he got in office, I think he outsourced all that. I think he outsourced criminal justice reform, bail reform to the advocacy groups who will never admit something's not working. So I don't. I think he turned it over to them, and we saw the consequences of that. And then he saw the consequences of it in the election, which is how we address those issues in the United States. If we don't agree with something, then we vote for change in an election. And I would argue that we would have had this backlash 2 years before, uh, but for the ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court on abortion. I think that backlash on that caused people to focus on abortion and not criminal justice reform and bail reform issues. And so I think that delayed the backlash, because this is not something new. We've gone through this again before in the 60s. We had an election. Not election. We had a time of peace. We felt safe, so we were forgiving on our criminal justice laws. And then we started having crime go up, and we had a disagreement. One party would not assist in addressing um, what to do about the increased crime. So we ended up having a backlash. That's what caused Reagan to be elected, in part with his war on drugs. Same thing with Trump. One of the reasons why he got elected was because of immigration, the fiasco, and also criminal justice fiascos that Biden allowed to be put in place, because he outsourced, in my opinion, those to his advocacy groups, and they betrayed him.
Okay. Hopefully we'll find out 2026.
Yeah, the midterm election is very, very important.
It's the most
Not
important one.
not from the standpoint of reversing these policies, but from the standpoint of whether Trump is going to be paralyzed and not do anything through Congress for the last 2 years that he's in office.
Well, this
So,
depends on how stupid or how intelligent the American public is, obviously.
well, you could also argue if the Republicans are good at getting out their story, and if we resort to identity politics, well, wait, history says the Democrats are going to take over the House, because the party out of power usually gains seats. They don't need to gain more than a handful of seats, and they have power. So, history says they'll take over the House. I don't think history is a good example for this election. I think the Republicans have a strong chance of keeping the House and gaining seats. but we'll see. I mean, the reason why that party out of power uh, gained seats in the off-year election is because so few people go vote in the off-year election. In presidential years, everybody comes out, but in an off year, just the really strong, the really mad people come out to vote, and that's usually the party out of power. So we'll see. I think Trump has a good game plan scheduled for the election next year. I think you can see the arguments that they're going to be making. The redistricting will probably help Trump across the country. I think California is going to have a bigger issue changing theirs than they think, and so I mean I am optimistic about the midterms, but I would say history would say the Democrats will be in control of the House after the midterms. I'm just optimistic that
I
that's
agree
not
with
going to
you.
hold true.
By the way, the
I would
assassination
like
of
to
Charlie.
point out, IQ, I'd like to point out that they're saying it's a dead heat in New Jersey for the gubernatorial election that comes up in November. And whenever you see it that way, you know the Republicans in the lead.
Well, and also look at Mandami. Mandami is running for governor of New York City. If he wins, the conventional wisdom is that'll help Republicans in the midterms because it'll highlight how how extreme the Democrat Party has become. And so I think I agree with that. So I think that and the likelihood of Mandami winning is probably better than 50%, probably 60% or more. Uh, and so that's discouraging in and of itself. But and I don't wish that on New York. I want what's best for New York to happen. I don't want Mamdani to win so that the Republicans will be helped in the midterm. But I think that if he does, that will be the effect of it.
But Ken, you are a lawyer. What I don't understand is this. Mamdani, no, very important. It's very important. Listen, my subject is Islam. Your subject is law. My subject for all my life is Islam. Mamdani said, I am the first Muslim mayor. He didn't say American Muslim. He didn't say Muslim American. He said Muslim. Now, as a Muslim, ask him one question. Anybody should ask him this question. As a Muslim, what do you call all Americans who are not Muslims? The answer he should say is kuffar. The next question, what is the destiny of kuffar under Sharia? The answer is either submit to Islam or be exterminated. Ken, one single question, we destroy Mamdani. One single question. But who's going to do it? I can't do it. I'm not in America. But if somebody allows me and makes an appointment, believe me, I'll fly first class and I'll come.
Well, those questions aren't going to be asked in New York. I mean, they're just not. I mean,
Why?
Because, okay, same thing with, I mean, this is probably not going to be popular, but when Obama ran for president, do you remember after he was elected, there was a period of time where the late night comedians could not even make jokes about him because the audience would get mad right then. It's kind of hard to imagine that just a few short years ago that we had that climate. We were so hopeful for someone who was elected president that we were so protective of him that if someone made jokes about him, we would attack them. Well, we're kind of, I think that's what Mamdani is going through. The press is protecting him because he's novel, and they're what their thought is. Well, wouldn't it be great to have have that kind of diversity? It's kind of like their DEI thing.
He's not a diversity. He is a traitor. What do you mean diversity? He's a traitor.
Hey, you're not going to get an argument from me. I'm not going to defend Mamdani.
Ken, I'm not attacking you
you're
for
asking me.
I'm trying to understand the question.
The reason why I
How
was
is it
laughing is
possible
you say you keep saying you're the lawyer. I mean, I swear every time you say it, I hear my mom who has passed away. So God bless her soul. But she used to tell me all the time. I would ask her a question and she'd say, "Well, I don't know. You're the lawyer. You tell me." I'm like, "I'm a lawyer, but I don't have any magic pill or magic something to say that's going to cure all of our ills. In fact, and there's parts of this country that would say I'm part of the problem."
Okay. Sorry, I asked the question.
No. Just I was just telling you what brought to my memory when you said you're the lawyer.
So Ken, this has been fantastic. As we wrap up here, let's start with IQ Rassooli. IQ, where do we get your books and everything, my friend?
My books are Lifting the Veil, The True Faces of Muhammad and Islam. You can get them in Amazon easily. Ken, it was a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, very, very much. I enjoy talking to you, IQ.
So, Don Mazzella, how's your book doing? Where do we get it? All that.
Well, the book is doing good. As the ruler of the seas, 2sbdigest.com, hashtag 2sbdigest, and of course our the
National
how
Robotics Education Foundation, sir.
yeah, I'm really feeling it. Anyway,
Hey, it's a lot.
You've had a great guest on. I think he should be commended for what he's trying to do. Thank you.
No, well, thank you very much. I mean, I will tell you that what's happened in the country in the last couple of weeks has been very upsetting, with the Charlie Kirk assassination. And now we've had, I think today we had students chased off of a campus trying to do something similar. And then the campus or the university issued a press release saying everything was peaceful. And I'm like, if you just watch the video, it's not. So, people like me who get involved in these debates, we're more than happy to have a conversation. What we're finding is if they can't respond to our arguments, then suddenly they start calling names, and if they worry that your message is going to get out too far, then they start doing other things as well, and they do this toxic language. And so that's what happens when we try to speak the truth, I guess.
Well, I think you're right.
Well,
But
Ken,
keep going on it.
Thank you.
you have been amazing, Ken. Thanks for doing this. And real quick, Ken, run it down for us. Where do we find your book? Everything, websites, just everything you got going, baby.
You can go to pbtx.com. That's our website. We have a blog where we highlight important information. We also have our own podcast called The Bell Post. There's a link on the menu, but you can just go to thebellpost.com, and we talk all issues criminal justice
Fantastic.
reform.
Fantastic. Well, my thanks to IQ Rassooli, Don Mazzella, our previous guest, Charlotte Dennett, and of course, our man here, Ken Good. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. You guys have yourself a wonderful day. Don, I will talk to you next Thursday. And thanks to everybody for paying attention to us today.